This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Manitobans have been enjoying more direct flights to U.S. destinations in recent years, but now those are in jeopardy. A provincial pot of money set aside to subsidize flights from Winnipeg to the United States has run out of money. As CBC's Bartlett Kivas reports, this leaves the future of direct flights to Los Angeles and Atlanta up in the air.
The Winnipeg Airports Authority is coming off a great year. Passenger volumes at Richardson International Airport rose in 2024. Net income increased by nearly $5 million and long-term debt went down. But everything changed after this man returned to the White House. Now the sunny outlook for the airport is tempered by economic uncertainty and trade tensions with the United States. The president and CEO of the Airports Authority says it's facing headwinds as all Canadian airlines consider cutting back or even cancelling U.S.-bound flights.
So far, there has been no significant impact. We are expecting some changes upcoming, but it's too early to know what those will be and how significant those will be.
The biggest question marks are a pair of WestJet routes from Winnipeg to Los Angeles and Winnipeg to Atlanta. In 2023, the former PC government set aside $4.8 million to subsidize these routes. The NDP government says this money has been spent.
Those dollars are all paid out, and that contract, again, has been fulfilled.
The province says it's not going to commit more money to flight subsidies. Finance Minister Adrian Saleh suggests the U.S. routes may not be profitable.
Look, I think what we're seeing broadly is a significant reduction in air travel flights from Canada to the U.S. We're seeing that and hearing a lot of those stories.
WestJet says it's reviewing all its U.S.-bound flights. Earlier this week, it announced more domestic flights from Winnipeg to the East Coast, starting in July. The end of LA flights would impact Manitoba's film industry, which spent years lobbying for the California connection.
It seems disappointing when we've got an international airport and we're trying to provide as much service as we possibly can to Manitobans.
The future of flights from Richardson to U.S. destinations should be settled in a matter of weeks. WestJet is expected to make a decision this spring about its transborder flight schedule. Bartlett Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A northern Manitoba community is celebrating the life of a 2-year-old girl. Josiah Young was killed in January. Her grandmother is charged with second-degree murder. CBC's Caroline Bargu traveled to Bloodvein First Nation, where the little girl was being honored.
Like with any child's birthday celebration, there were balloons, cake, and happy birthday to the little girl. But Josiah Young isn't here to celebrate. This party was to honor her memory on what would have been her 3rd birthday. 2-year-old Josiah died in January. Her maternal grandmother, Burma Sky, is charged with second-degree murder. Her aunt, Roberta Goosehead, had been her main caregiver after Josiah's mother was arrested in December 2023. They formed a special bond, and the toddler started to call her mom. Josiah was just learning her ABCs. Goosehead remembers how much she loved to dance. She also loved hugs and craved attention.
She wanted your attention all the time. Like, even if it was just playing with her fingers, she'd be like, "Mom, look." So she was very lovable.
Goosehead works full-time and was struggling to find someone to look after Josiah during the day. Josiah's grandmother had recently regained custody of one of her other grandkids, so Goosehead thought she'd been cleared to care for kids again. She says Sky had struggled with addictions, but believed she'd gotten clean.
So because she was doing so good and because I was struggling with babysitters, I started maintaining visits with the grandmother. I would drop her off. And then I would pick her up, and then after a while, she just gradually moved in there.
Josiah went to live with Sky full-time in October 2024. 3 months later, she was dead.
If she was struggling to keep her, she should have contacted me, and I would have went to pick her up, you know. We loved Josiah. I would have jumped right away and went and got her.
Chief Lisa Young had to notify Josiah's loved ones of her death.
It was very, very hard for all of us. It hit everybody very hard. Everyone, dealt with it in a way that they could, the best they could. Losing a child like that is hard to even comprehend.
RCMP have not released a cause of death. Sky's next court appearance is in May.
Make sure you hold on, okay?
But on this day, the focus is on Josiah's life. They released 200 balloons to honor her short time on Earth and pray for her journey home. Caroline Bargood, CBC News, Bloodvein First Nation.
It's just 4 days until federal election day, and today a new poll paints a picture of the main issues motivating Manitobans' votes. As the CBC's Rosanna Hempel reports, it comes as two federal party leaders campaigned in Winnipeg in what could be their final pitch to voters.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh making another bid for support in battleground Winnipeg.
You know that Ottawa works best when one party doesn't have all the power. Ottawa works best when you send strong new Democrats like Leah Gazan and Leela Dance to fight for you and defend you and your family. Yeah.
The NDP currently holds 24 seats in the House of Commons. It needs to win at least 12 to retain official party status. Singh says he's confident his party can keep its 3 federal ridings in Manitoba. A new poll from Probe Research commissioned by the Winnipeg Free Press suggests Liberals are still ahead in support, although NDP support has rebounded since last month to 15% in Manitoba and 16% in Winnipeg.
There's probably some of those NDPers, Leila Dance in Elmwood-Transcona and Leah Gazan in Winnipeg Centre, who are breathing just a little bit easier today. It's maybe not as tough a race in those ridings, but it's still really tight.
Mary Agnes Welch with Probe Research says the cost of living and Canada-U.S. relations are the top 2 issues among Manitobans, although respondents are split on which party and leader is best to tackle those issues, with the Conservatives besting the Liberals 38% over 33% on cost of living, but the Liberals surpassing the Conservatives at 48% to 33% on Canada-U.S. relations.
It's a really good question about what's in kind of voters' hearts and minds as they're casting that ballot, and especially with President Trump kind of re-upping that issue of the 51st state and tariffs just in the last day.
Liberal leader Mark Carney is also campaigning in Winnipeg Thursday, while Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre will hold a rally in Saskatoon. University of Manitoba political scientist Christopher Adams says the Probe survey is good news for the Liberals. He says Singh's stop in Winnipeg is no mistake.
The attention being paid by Jagmeet Singh is to save the NDP, and they want to go back to the heartland to save their party.
And he says to do that, the NDP will need to secure its ridings in this province. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The City of Winnipeg says its new bike registry has led to more stolen bikes getting recovered. Last year, the city partnered with the App 529 Garage, a free online registry that spans the country. In 2024, they recovered 681 bikes compared to 572 the year before. The city's licensing coordinator says more than 6,300 people have registered since the start of the program.
In my eyes, that's a very good start in the right direction of people registering bikes. I think that number is a really good number. Obviously, we're looking at it growing to be more, but I think it's a very good start.
Cycling advocates would also like the city to invest in theft prevention, like secure bike parking downtown. The city's annual bike auction started today and goes until May 1st. Let's bring in Riley Lachuk. And Riley, I think a lot of people tuning up their bikes ahead of this weekend with the weather forecast.
Yeah, we're shaping up to have really across the province a very gorgeous weekend ahead, a very gorgeous Friday as well after a very nice Thursday, 15 degrees in Winnipeg this afternoon, 14 in Brandon. seasonal for this time of the year. Our seasonal high for this time of the year is 14. So a very spring-like day with some sunshine, a true mix of sun and clouds. As I mentioned yesterday, we would see some of that cloud kind of bobbing in and out. And yes, that's what's happened. Even in some of this, as expected, a few little scattered, isolated showers into some of this cloud cover. So don't be surprised if you run into a few stray showers through the overnight hours. We get a bit more clearing tonight, +2 in Winnipeg. Close to freezing outside the city, though. 4 degrees first thing in the morning under the sunshine, and we'll keep the sunshine through the day tomorrow. I mean, maybe a few clouds hanging around, and we'll try for 18 degrees. It gets warmer than that, and we are setting up, as I said, for a very nice weekend ahead. We'll go into detail when I come back.
All right, get those bikes ready.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
With the campaign race in its final days, issues are heating up, and housing remains a top priority for many. More on what Manitobans have to say on that, straight ahead. From Thompson to Winkler to Winnipeg, Manitobans across the province say they're focused on housing this federal election. We heard about the rising cost of homes and the need for accessible and social housing. The CBC's Rosanna Hempel brings us their stories.
Jared Heinrichs budgets monthly to save for his first down payment.
Every week we take this much set aside for rent.
But after gas, groceries, and rent, he says he barely has anything left over.
But when rent is as much or if not more than a mortgage payment, it makes it very hard for a young couple like me and my wife Laura to save up, because we just got married this July, will be 2 years ago, to buy a house and just get things cleaned up.
This 25-year-old tradesman lives in Winkler. Heinrichs hopes the next government makes first-time home ownership more achievable.
That way it gives young Canadians like myself and my wife a chance to get forward in life.
Meanwhile, Valdine Alicia is also concerned about their future housing prospects. Alicia lives with a neurological disability in Thompson. They say the accessible housing they'll one day need there is scarce.
I would love to see all of the parties committing to Indigenous housing and housing for people with disabilities.
All major federal parties have announced commitments for housing. The Conservatives say they'll cut GST on new homes up to $1.3 million and incentivize municipalities to boost home building by at least 15% each year. The Liberals say they'll eliminate GST for first-time homebuyers for properties under $1 million and launch an agency to oversee affordable home building in Canada. The NDP say they'd fund a $16 billion strategy to construct affordable and rent-controlled homes and require the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation to offer low-interest, public-backed mortgages.
I think there has been some movement.
University of Winnipeg Urban Studies professor Shauna McKinnon finds parts of the Liberal and New Democrat platforms appealing, although she says details on social housing are missing.
Housing has been built. It's just not the housing that is addressing the needs of the lowest income households. So we really need to shift the investment to ensure that that is the priority housing.
Meanwhile, Alicia is alarmed more hasn't been pledged for accessible housing and people with disabilities.
I believe that Thompson is completely overlooked in all of the conversations when it comes to housing.
As for Heinrichs, he likes the Conservatives' plan and says he'd welcome a GST cut on his first home. But he says more help is needed from Canada's next leader.
Please just remember us bottom-of-the-barrel Canadians that are just great getting by, and just please make it affordable for us to live again, because it's not.
So his dreams of owning an acreage and a home are within reach. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Winnipeg Fire Paramedic Service has changed the way it responds to emergency calls. A new 5 priorities dispatch system is now in effect. The former had only 2 priorities. Serious life-threatening situations will be priority 1 with full lights and sirens going to a call. The others will not involve either of those. Some calls may be dealt with over the phone with a community paramedic, and others may be referred to the Downtown Community Safety Partnership. WFPS says the goal is to get to higher acuity calls faster. Riley's back in now, and lots of people getting ready for that whiteout tonight. Even though the Jets are in St. Louis, still lots of people donning their white and their blue for the Jets for Game 3.
Maybe finding a patio.
Maybe finding a patio. It is that season now, considering what you've been telling us about the weather.
And I do have some better news on the horizon if you do like the warmer weather. I know we do need the rain across the province, but you know, some spring-like weather, maybe some time in the flower bed in store for some. We'll start with the 10-day temperature trend. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So normal daytime high today at 14 degrees. Look at what happens. A bit of a dip, I mean, over the weekend here into early next week. But once we get into early May, our temperatures start to jump up, at least according to this forecast model, into the low 20s, even by May 3rd, May 4th. So this is setting us up for what will be, I think, a pretty decent stretch of spring weather, really across much of the province as we get through the next few days here, at least. least as well. Looking at our upper level winds, so we have an area of high pressure. This is what's helped to really clear us out over the past 24 hours or so, leading to a bit of sunshine today across the province with some scattered cloud cover. This ridge starting to build in the west. This is what's going to give us some warmer temperatures as we get toward the weekend. So as we get through the night into the early morning on Friday, sunshine thanks to high pressure. A bit of instability running along the jet stream across northern Manitoba along the territorial boundary. This really not having much of an impact on northern Manitoba, but could bring maybe a couple of centimeters of snow to Dooley Lake along the Hudson Bay coast. The rest of us, though, through Friday, under sunny sky, clear sky, Friday night into Saturday. We'll do this all over again on Saturday with a mainly sunny sky. And out of some of this cloud cover, this particular model wanting to give us a couple of showers. So the slight chance of some scattered showers as we get overnight into Sunday morning, but I think the best chance for that comes as we get Sunday into Monday with an incoming area of low pressure. We'll check on that tomorrow once it nears here a little bit, but we are looking at least the first half of the weekend, Saturday into early Sunday, a very sunny stretch of weather and warm temperatures throughout. Overnight, temperatures close to freezing once again, -2 in Brandon, Portage at the freezing mark. Inside the city at +2. I know areas just outside the city dropping just below freezing last night, so do expect that again tonight, where we do stay above freezing, say in the downtown, but maybe closer to the perimeter, we're dipping just below that freezing mark. -4 in Thompson, Barons River, -9 in Churchill. A few scattered flurries turns into periods of light snow tomorrow at -2. But compare that to Thompson at 14 degrees, 18s into the west. Maybe we crack 20 in places like Swan River tomorrow afternoon. Winnipeg at 18 degrees. And I've got northwestern Ontario 15s and 16s. So that's setting us up for a very spring-like end to the week. Well, the Winnipeg Jets are back in action tonight. Game 3, of course, going in St. Louis with puck drop at 8:30.
But despite the team being on the road, fans are still in full swing at playoff action here at home. CBC's Matt Humphrey spoke with some super fans ahead of puck drop.
And this is my room.
12-year-old Arth Patel takes rooting for the home team to a whole different level.
One day, I just kind of woke up. I went on YouTube and I saw this new game, I didn't know anything about it, but we live in Canada, so, the influence is going to come in soon or later.
But for Patel, who dreams of being a professional sports analyst one day, every Jets game is a lot of work.
And usually there'd be nothing here, but for the playoffs, we have 2 games to none for the Jets as the series score. We have the cities down here.
Patel tracks every Jets game's score in real time on his intricate whiteboard. Everything from who's in the penalty box to shots on goal.
This probably takes up most of my markers.
And this season, he's added a playoff bracket.
Right now, Dallas won yesterday, so now it's 2-1. LA also won, so it's 2-zip.
Just another Winnipegger caught up in the whiteout. Meanwhile, Joseph Palople's been busy painting windows. His company, the Traveling Sign Painters, has had a lot of demand for Jets slogans.
As long as we're in the playoffs, people are going to want it right away. So I've done quite a bit in the last week, so it's been fun.
You can see one of his signs on Portage Avenue across the street from the arena.
Monday's victory over the Blues means for the first time in 3 seasons, the Jets have a 2-0 series lead in the Western Conference best-of-7 contest. Matt Humphrey, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And it's not just a Winnipeg whiteout. Jets fans in Manitoba's north are getting in on the playoff action. We take you to Thompson straight ahead. NASA is celebrating the 35th anniversary of the Hubble Space Telescope.
To celebrate Hubble's 35th birthday, we're releasing 4 new images. There are different parts of the universe. One of them is the Rosette Nebula, where stars are still forming. We also are releasing an image of a planetary nebula. Now, this colorful nebula really has nothing to do with planets, but it is really the remnants of a dead star system. This is a spiral galaxy. It doesn't look quite like we think our Milky Way does because the spiral arms are kind of smudged together. We call it a flocculent spiral. And then much closer to home in our own solar system, we've taken new pictures of Mars. We see the icy poles on the top, we see clouds, and we can also see mountain ranges and deep canyons and plain structures. This eye on the sky has given people around the world a new view of the universe, how vast it is, how beautiful it is, and how active it is.
All right, back down on Earth with your dog walking forecast for your Friday. A couple of special ones tonight. Bella and Ruben. Thank you, Kathy and Heather, for sending your pups in memoriam in. You can send your pets to talkback@cbc.ca. As always, love seeing them all. Up to 18 degrees in the afternoon for Winnipeg for your Friday. Southeast winds gusting up to 30. I mean, maybe a little bit breezy at times, but overall not looking at much in terms of wind. 19 for Saturday. That is a bit of a windy one. 17 for Sunday. Some clouds building in. Then we get a fairly good chance of seeing, I think, some showers, I mean to say. Maybe a rumble of thunder as we get into early next week and temperatures remain in the double digits. Well, the Winnipeg Whiteout doesn't just stop in the capital city.
Fans in the north are out showing their love and support for Manitoba's team today. Here's your Daily Lift.
Go Jets, go! Go Jets, go!
I love the Jets. And I love Thompson. So I wanted to see everybody.
The Keewatin Tribal Council organized a whiteout party in Thompson. Decked out in their best whites, the fans showed off their playoff pride.
Small but mighty in numbers.
Yes, lots of them out there. Like we said, that goes far beyond Winnipeg. All of Manitoba is behind the Winnipeg Jets on their
every
Cup
corner
quest
of our province, and I'd love to see it all.
Exactly. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Have a good one.